I'm going to speak today about RSE in Arts and Humanities, about how we kind of build it as a community-driven initiative. Just a quick intro for just to introduce myself. So I'm currently a postdoc in digital humanities at the Digital Humanities Research Hub School of Advanced Study at the University of London. I'm also kind of working under a TANK HRC funded project, the Congruence Engine, hosted at the Science Museum. I'm also a Software Sustainability Institute Fellow and also an HRC Policy and Engagement Fellow in Digital Research and Innovation Infrastructure. So in the past, I worked in a number of digital humanities projects in the UK, but also in the EU. So I've collaborated with DARIA, the Digital Research Infrastructure in Arts and Humanities. And I'm also an editor and a member of the trustees of the Programming Historian, which is platform for publishing open source educational resources for digital tools and methods. So my background is a bit kind of unusual. So traditionally literary cultural historian, but then I kind of shifted into digital humanities, media history, and I've done my first postdoc in the University of Sussex in historical data modeling. So I'm kind of I've worked in various environments, but I kind of define myself as a lab person. So I'm having this background, this humanities background, with kind of also a lot of computational skills and exposure, and also experience in working with interdisciplinary digital humanities projects. Because of my background, I was always very interested on how to bridge the gap between arts and humanities people, researchers, and the kind of the research software engineering community. Just to give you a bit of context of how research software engineering capability was kind of conceived in the arts and humanities in the last kind of 2 decades. Originally, digital humanities specialists were kind of working as Swiss Army knives, as we keep referring to them. So, we were doing pretty much everything in the early days of digital humanities. So from data cleaning, analysis, modeling, architecture of the data, bit of software development, UX, UI, so interface design as well. Systems admin, of course, a lot of backups and maintenance, and of course, I did support within the project. But since 2015, 2016, I would say, digital humanities project started to become more complex in terms of their scope, their software needs, and of course, we had this vast amount of data to deal with. So it became evident that we needed for a more specialized skill set. And this is why the community kind of started looking to create, let's say, the need, but also the sub-community of arts and humanities research software engineering. Try to define a bit the arts and humanities research software engineering. So we tend to see this as a subset of a much larger and cross-disciplinary and cross-sector group of RSEs who combine expertise in programming with an intricate understanding of research and research infrastructures. And to be honest, there are broadly conceived two routes to enter, let's say, this subset of the RSE in Arts and Humanities. We can see people that they have deep experience working with arts and humanities content and data and research questions. And, these this provides them like with deep understanding of arts and humanities content, the methods that we're using, the research culture, and the ethos that we have in our projects. And on the other hand, there is like there are like research software engineers that usually work with cross-disciplinary RSE profiles. They're often oriented towards STEM research or other fields, and occasionally assigned to arts and humanities projects, which is totally fine. And I would say that this pool of RSEs actually bring new perspectives into arts and humanities research and facilitate this transfer of tools, technology, infrastructural choices, and methods that we as arts and humanities people, we are kind of unaware of. And I think both perspectives or both profiles are equally important for us, and we are very welcome, of course, to both approaches. But arts and humanities research software engineering workforce is often invisible because they're mainly working in enabling roles at the intersection of research and technology. And because in arts and humanities, we are so strongly focused in like the research question and the data itself, we often tend to forget that RSCs are like the real backbone of our projects and our research. So we tried to the RSE workforce in arts and humanities more visible, and of course there was work that it was there for us. To be honest, there was a lot of preparatory work from Software Sustainability Institute that worked in order to kind of normalize better software choices and sustainability of software. So there was a discussion around research software engineers. Of course, in 2013, there was the launch of the UK Research Software Engineers Association. Since then, we saw a number of RSC groups in research institutions and schools from UCL, and they're like the first one was on 2012. We've seen like more than 25 or 30 RSC groups across the UK. In 2019, there was a Society of Research Software Engineers launched, and we also noticed that there was the RSC community started to be recognized and supported by funding bodies for its support, and that was really crucial, I think, for the community, but also for the arts and humanities people to realize that something is going on here. So specifically for arts and humanities RSCs, I think the launch of KDL, King's Digital Lab, in 2018 from inspired by James Smithies, was the first that used actually the term RSC for arts and humanities. The Digital Humanities Institute at University of Sheffield, which was like a strong RSC focused unit with strong also focus in the arts and humanities. And since 2019, Alan Turing Institute hosted the Humanities and Data Science Interest Group and the discussion group. So they kind of like also hosted a number of summer schools around RSCs in art and humanities. So they tried also to, make the space more visible. How the whole discussion around like this community building enterprise started. So in 2022, there was launched from UKRI AHRC, the Infrastructure for Digital Innovation and Curation in Arts and Humanities, and they kind of published the Policy and Engagement Fellowship. So I applied, I got the fellowship, I was just lucky, I suppose. But through this fellowship, we managed to focus on, let's say, three main goals for arts and humanities infrastructure. First was to scope out how existing UKRI digital research infrastructure actual capabilities, mainly the Archer 2 and Jasmine, could be and should be expanded to serve the arts and humanities research community. So focusing on high performance computing mainly. Second, try to create a roadmap with a focus on technical requirement and business case for a federated ecosystem of the digital research infrastructure for arts and humanities, and support the HRC in developing the strategy, its strategy to further enhance arts and humanities digital research infrastructure on a national level. So within this fellowship, the Research Software Engineering Steering Group for Arts and Humanities was conceived actually as a blue sky thinking exercise in the beginning, to to try and align, let's say, arts and humanities with existing work in the RSE world. The idea is to map actually the field of the arts and humanities and related RSE standards, values, and technical requirements. Try to engage, let's say, a professional community around these values and this work, and try to act as a center of RSE excellence and innovation for the wider UK RSE and UKRI communities. So how we structure our work, our community-focused work. So we initially set up 2 workshops within this blue sky thinking approach back in May and June 2022. James Smith is he was then back in, he was a director of KDL and professor of digital humanities at King's. And I was kind of facilitating as a fellow the workshops. So the first workshop focused on defining the problems, the opportunities, and the requirements definition around the RSE is in Arts and Humanities. And the second workshop focused on, let's say, trying to map all this work and create a report for HRC and UKRI. So we try to bring together 33 people from 21 institutions across UK and Ireland. As I said, the group was guided by terms of references, but it was quite relaxed and creative atmosphere during the workshops. So we wanted to create this report for UKRI to inform future investments, detailing problems, opportunities, and requirements for an RSE community in arts and humanities. And also try to, create a wider interpretation, let's say, of the arts and humanities RSE capacity and capability to include, for example, people not only in the software development strand of work, but also, for example, analysts, managers, project managers, system administrators, or any other person working on RSE related role, because also it's really, it's a really broad and evolving spectrum of roles. Among the goals of the committee was also to enabling RSE careers across the whole of the UK and cross-institutionally, and to also enhance arts and humanities RSE voices and expertise across the UK, and try to align with standards and definitions and regarding to career progression, for example, that were proposed by RSE Society and Software Sustainability Institute. Yes, so the output was as I said, this community produced report that is now in Zenodo. I can put it in the chat later on. And also the second output was this kind of initial development of an HRC RSE advisory group as a kind of permanent RSE faction within AHRC. So this is under development within the HRC Digital Research Infrastructure Investment. The role of this group is to review technical proposals, to define models like data processes, workflows that are going to be currently implemented in arts and humanities research projects. Also take into account environmental standards. Also think about career paths and promotion metrics for RSEs, and also agree on technical research standards in alignment with UKRI, RSE, and infrastructure initiatives, and try to design finally policies to support sustainability and archiving of funded projects in arts and humanities. In the meantime, so 2022, 2023, we also celebrated two outputs, two other reports by Software Sustainability Institute, also related to AHRC and focusing on data and software policy in arts and humanities, and also another report that I contributed to on the digital software requirements for arts and humanities research communities. So both reports were kind of like mapping exercises to see, where the community stands at the moment, and also to understand potentially gaps, for example, in training, or gaps in funding that it would be useful for the HRC to focus on, or in infrastructure. And then last year, in the spring 2023, this kind of like, this community that we were brought together under the IDA project, we kind of like felt that, it was a good moment for us to make our presence more kind of like visible and kind of established. So we were approached by the UK and Ireland Digital Humanities Association, and we've been asked if we were interested to create a community interest group. So we said yes, because we were a community-driven group already. So we kind of we set up a small team of coordinators or facilitators. So together alongside Stavros Angelis from Ireland, and Catherine Cassidy, Mary Jester Cadwell at Cambridge, Dave Bevan from Alan Turing, David Kelly from Galway, and myself. So we kind of set up this small group. We published a call for interest. People joined the group. So the origins of the group are in the IDA project, as I mentioned, but it was really like a case for us, an opportunity to make this intersection of research and technology that is important in arts and humanities and digital humanities also visible in a kind of like more policy level. So the goals and the activities of the community interest group is threefold. So first, we are really want to enable community-focused discussions around RSE and all things, from standards, technologies, but also to policy issues. Try to also facilitate knowledge exchange and collaboration, both formal and informal opportunities to build capacity and further develop talent within the group. And finally, to try to focus also towards advocacy and policy-focused intervention, and try to make a difference to policy and investment. We have a strong connection with HRC. Because it's the main funder of Arts and Humanities, but of course, would like to address a number of policy questions to other funders. So our values as I said, this is a grassroots initiative, so we don't have like an institution to support this. So which is good, of course, but also bad. And at some point, we are an open, inclusive, and collaborative safe space for everyone. It's anyone who is involved or interested in RSE in Arts and Humanities broadly conceived is really welcome, and we don't care about your job title, your career stage, background, etc. And we have like very strong commitment towards inclusivity, and discrimination, harassment is not tolerated within the group. We also very strong support accessibility, so we make all sort of accessible choices for our interactions, but also our own infrastructure that we're using. So we currently have a Slack channel. I'm going to share everything in the chat, and we have also a kind of GitHub repo, which is like under development, so don't really stake on this, as they currently, as I said, under development. So I'm just gonna give you a quick overview of the of a couple of activities that we've done, and then I'm just gonna wrap it up and open the floor, I think, for a discussion, which is really something that I'm looking for. Like the launch of the community interested group was last year. On the UK Ireland Digital Humanities Association annual event at SAS. So we had like a panel and a lunchtime session. It was the first time that the community interest group kind of gathered, and it was really cool and fun. So we discussed like a number of things that were kind of really important for us at the moment, but they're still hard, to be honest. So channels of communications and how we're going to collaborate with each other, membership requirements and the process, for someone to join the group. So about the meeting schedule, we wanted to ensure like the balance between UK and Ireland, and we kind of create like we create like 3 lists that they're currently like work in progress. So we need to do more of these things, we need to change these things, and we need to do less of these things. So a kind of like wish list. There are like the things that everyone can contribute to. So, and I think that's something that keeps the group really active and vibrant. So yeah, we kind of like set up a kind of minimal infrastructure. So we worked on the Hack MD to set up like the agenda of the day and just record like our informal decisions and discussions. And the second activity that we've done last year was like an audience-led panel at the Conference of Research Software Engineering. So last September. So that was a great opportunity for the community interest group, to open up to the broader community of research software engineering, and I think that what we tried to do is try to position ourselves, within this broad community. So the key questions that we had for the audience actually was like, what makes RSEs in Arts and Humanities unique? What are the challenges that RSEs in Arts and Humanities share with RSEs in other disciplines, and how and what can we contribute to this, and what are next priorities? The challenges. So this is like the top 4 of the kind of common challenges for Arts and Humanities RSEs actually, and the things that we are really keen to focus on for the next month. So we would try to explain, the challenges of messy Arts and Humanities data to potential collaborators in computer science. This is something that we find that is really difficult. It's really difficult also to recruit and retain software folk when they can earn a lot more in industry. It's also really important for us to understand the skills required and the training requirements for future or for current RSEs in order to succeed in their current roles or in future, let's say, roles that they want to get. And also, I think what is like last but not least, how we're going to convince funders to pay for sustainability of software, like, also for pay for RSEs, to be honest, to support, let's say, the Arts and Humanities projects beyond the end of the grant. So these are like the 4 top challenges for Arts and Humanities RSEs. So just to wrap up, this is a community-driven initiative and group. So it's from the community for the community of Arts and Humanities RSEs and for Arts and Humanities community in general. So we kind of employ a grassroots bottom-up approach. So we don't have an institution to kind of like formally support us. We have embraced an inclusive and open ethos in our work so far, and we very much co-design everything from from the decisions, for example, on which tool we're going to use for our communication, our collaboration, to the roadmap, the goals, and the activities that we're going to focus on. For us, next steps and challenges at the same time are, how we're going to ensure a long-term engagement of our members. This is, I think that's like a really important question for us. How we're going to demonstrate impacts across institutions, within our institution, across institutions, at funders level, at in a policy level. I think that's really important. And how we can ensure also sustainable growth of the group itself, but also of members of the group as individuals. So yes, that's pretty much it. Yeah, more than happy, to hear your thoughts. If you're interested, get in touch, join our Slack. Feel free to join the group. We really want to have more RSC people on board because you like the more the merrier, I guess. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Anna Maria. That was really interesting. So I guess we'll open it up with questions, and there's plenty of time for discussion. So feel free to drop them in the chat or stick your hand up, and I'll pick on people one at a time. I guess to start off, exercising my prerogative, your slide that had the challenges for Arts and Humanities RSEs.
Yeah,
I think this is something. So we had Mary Chester-Cadwell did a talk last term.
yeah.
And this was something that came up. I think actually a lot of the things that are presented as challenges for Arts and Humanities RSEs are just challenges for RSEs. So
yeah.
Even within STEM, it's a challenge to fund software after projects. It's a challenge to sort of retain people. So I wonder, have you done much sort of, rather than viewing these as AH problems, have you done work to kind of tackle these with those working in STEM, and also to share ideas from both ends?
No, thanks, Jack. Yeah, I agree that, it would be very absurd to assume that these challenges are just for Arts and Humanities RSEs. Yeah, I agree that, it's, I'm not surprised that RSEs and STEM, they're facing similar challenges. Now, I think that we haven't really, worked with other RSE teams, in a cross-sectoral level. I think this should be actually the focus for us for the next couple of months. And this is why we are really keen to join, fora and conferences that they're like RSE focus and not just Arts and Humanities or Digital Humanities, because this is like a very comfort zone for us to go to a Digital Humanities conference. But I think it's really important for us, if we join, let's say, forces with RSEs from other sectors and try to tackle together similar challenges and similar issues, I think the benefit would be higher and more sustainable, to be honest. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, that I think that would be great. I mean, except from like conferences and that sort of things, what other way do you recommend to bring like other communities on board?
I think coming here and talking to us like you did today,
Super.
we're now aware this, if what we like to do often is go and have a chat kind of after talks, which had the trains not been cancelled would have been great, but if you're fancy coming over at some point, that would be great.
Yeah.
There's a question from Christian. I don't know if Christian wants to ask that himself.
Yes, I can ask it myself then. I was wondering what the definition of RSE in the context of arts and humanities is, because sometimes we have people who can script or are mostly considered like power users, if you want, and there's those who actually engineer the pieces of software that we commonly use in the digital humanities. So what is your working definition of RSE in this context?
No, thanks, Christian. I think that we very much like to have like as I said, like a kind of comprehensive approach and inclusive approach in RSE. So we're not only a small point is that in our title, the community interest group, it's not research software engineers, but it's research software engineering, which is something really interesting, I think. So we don't really focus on software engineers, but our definition is more kind of inclusive. Actually, our team is more inclusive, to be honest. So we are interested and we welcome people that they're not defining themselves as engineers, but as, for example, managers that they're working in an RSE environment, or, for example, analysts that they're working with RSEs, system administrators that they're working with RSEs. So to be honest, we are not, as I said, focused only on people that they're developing software, but, for example, people that they're actually be active users of software, or like they have other skills. So I don't think that I would stick to a single definition, but as I said, we're trying to make we try to make room for more roles that they're working in this kind of vast and broad area of research software engineering. I think it's it's more it's more important for us to focus on the multiplicity of roles that can support RSCs than to define, let's say, and focus on a single role. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. I see Chris also. Chris, okay, yeah. So Chris is asking about the report on the Archer and 2 and Jasmine. Yeah, so this report is not yet out. I can keep you posted. Yeah, it was a piece of work from a colleague from Melody Bills. Yeah, she went on maternity leave in the meantime. So yeah, we will expect it. I'll keep you posted. Yeah, but it's a great piece of work because he's kind of doing an assessment of the current supercomputing capabilities and the requirements from an arts and humanities point of view. And yeah, the recommendations are I think they're going to be really useful for us. Yep, I will keep you posted.
So do you have much work, sort of input that comes in from the RSE Society, or is a lot of the stuff you do with the interest group sort of a separate entity to that?
Yeah, I think that we're now focusing more on the community interest group. So we try, to find our pace, to be honest. So just to, to organize ourselves in terms of like collaboration, communication, just set up our tools, so mailing list or like a Slack channel, as I said. And we are now working on our like goals and activities for the next 6 months. We would like to have more, let's say, active engagement with RSE Society. So you mentioned that Mary and David are on our group. Yeah, they're on the group. They used to be a part of the coordinating team, but they left because, of course, they are super busy. So, but yeah, we're lucky to have them. So, but generally speaking, I think that building connection with RSE Society, and the point that you made, Jack, try to get in touch and build a network with our other pockets of RSE capability, cross-sectoral. I think that would be really beneficial for the group. Yeah, I don't know how I mean, for example, a big question that we have as a group is that we're really struggling with funding with specifically like the AHRC funders actually as a funding body, because there are a lot of RSC people that they're having an RSC position or like in an RSC team, and they would like to, for example, submit a funding proposal as PIs, but they currently can't do it. So this is something, that we can address, I think, also in a cross-sectoral level, that you don't need to have, for example, a kind of academic position to apply. So yeah, this type of things, I think it would be really beneficial, if we can address them in a cross-sectoral level. They would be more efficient, I guess, our claims.
Yeah, you had one of your slides mentioned that kind of the two possibilities were kind of embedded or project-based RSEs, and the other option was kind of central RSEs who get seconded out onto projects.
Yeah.
I think even within STEM, sort of this distinction exists. And
Yeah. Wow.
I guess my feeling is that having some scientific knowledge of the project you're working on can be very important. But then at the same time, I think there's the danger that kind of embedded RSE work can feel very isolated. So I don't know whether you feel that within arts and humanities, is it important to have that background knowledge sort of the domain, or is it better to kind of have that community where you can sort of learn more from others, or does it depend on the project?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that both paths, they both profiles, they bring like really interesting inputs in the group. So for example, we in the IDA project, in the IDA fellowship, so we during the workshop, so we kind of addressed this issue, and we make the claim for having like an Arts and Humanities RSE pool. So like RSEs that are going to be, from, the first category, let's say. So people that they're kind of like used to work with Arts and Humanities projects. So they kind of like trained in a way to work with this sort of data, this sort of questions, this sort of like, because, let's be honest, there is a kind of like a pretty like fixed set of technologies, for example, that we're using, or I mean, of course, always we try to enrich our repertoire, but I think that for Arts and Humanities projects, things are very kind of predictable, let's say. So we had this idea and we made the proposal of having like a specialized national-wide Arts and Humanities RSE pool. So projects, HRC funded projects, they can kind of like hire people from this pool. But on the other hand, you know, the point that you made that, for example, coming from a different, let's say, background, but also like having a different expertise. I think, you know, this, for example, could bring really interesting insights and skill sets in an arts and humanities project. So yeah, I think they're more like they're both equal important and interesting. I mean, if we can have them, you know, we would like to have both options available. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So we had a talk last term from someone from the Netherlands eScience Centre, and they have quite a similar approach. Obviously, theirs is for science, but it's kind of they have this central institute of RSEs who are
Yeah.
then spun out to projects across the country.
Yeah.
But do you have much interaction with, like, there's a lot of digital stuff that goes on at, say, the British Library or some of the national museums? Are those people who are sort of in your networks as well?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, this is one of the exercises that we would like to do in the coming months or years, you know, try to map the field and map the capability, the existing capability, the pockets of expertise that is out there actually, you know, to see, you know, what sort of skill sets, what sort of, so, I mean, we know that, for example, in British Library, there is the Digital Scholarship Lab. Of course, there is also the Turing Institute next door. So they have also, as I said, a strong also focus on arts and humanities, but also data science and now AI. So there are all sort of like, you know, different combinations that, you know, they're really useful. In Cambridge, there is a strong digital humanities team as well, and working inside the department, there's also RSC capability. They're doing the trainings, which are something that we also like to, you know, map, you know, what sort of training is out there in terms of RSC capability for arts and humanities. We know what that in Oxford, for example, there is a strong digital humanities scholarship group, and in Edinburgh, as I mentioned, in Sheffield, in Exeter. I mean, we know what's out there, but I think it's really important for us as an exercise to try and map it. And I think this would be also a really good case for, you know, locate potential gaps or potential, let's say, investment that is needed. So yeah, I think that's good. I'm just gonna post in the chat the Slack and the GitHub if you want to have a look, if you want to join. Yeah, more than welcome. So
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I've just seen Chris had a, thanks, Tom. Yeah, I mean, Chris, you can ask it or you can have it read for you.
I can ask it, but I just don't want to overload Anna, so when she's ready. That right. I'm just interested in techniques in digital humanities and where those intersect with research software engineering. In particular, what are the issues and challenges? So I'm presuming you mentioned earlier that there were sort of a small set of techniques that are, well, a set of techniques that are used, and perhaps, you know, cross-fertilization from other fields would bring more in. But since the digital humanities field's been around a while, I'm presuming you've built up some go-to techniques that are the favorites, and presumably every new digital humanities researcher is going to try and apply the standard technique, and then what are the software engineering problems with that?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, as I said, like, you know, I just tried to give like a very brief kind of overview of the kind of the history of the digital humanities versus software engineer skills, needs. So in the beginning, the field was like very, self-sufficient in a way. So, they kind of created their own bespoke software or like standards. So for example, I mean, in the beginning also, the focus was very much on text, let's be honest, because like humanities data is mainly data, mainly textual. So for example, it started very much the work around standardizing textual representation in the digital environment, so using mainly XML. So this is why they created like the text encoding initiative standards, the TI. So TI is a kind of the default way for digital humanists, that, I mean, I remember 10 years ago when I've done my digital humanities master, it was like the skill that we should all learn. So XML TI is like a default. I would say that now it's one of the really useful technologies to know, but it's like a bit old school, if I may say. So, because like, this is the starting point for you, to kind of represent your data in a machine readable format. After that, you just need to build the entire pipeline to make sure that you represent your data right. So, create like a model and build this, let's say, in a framework. In an application, if you want to build something more specialized, so, other type of skills might come up. But I think that, the last 10 years, I think that, as the field is kind of moving from textual representation as its key, let's say, focus towards other types of data, but towards other questions. So I think, for example, cultural analysis on textual but also non-textual data, require, for example, a good command of Python and other type of languages or frameworks to develop this. For example, working with cultural heritage data, metadata, so structuring metadata, large analysis of, a lot of data cleaning, data wrangling. So all these type of skills, I think that, they could be considered as the default skill set for someone entering the Arts and Humanities RSE world. But I think that the list is kind of big and expanding also, with AI and machine learning and NLP coming along, and also data that we're having now is like much bigger, but also very, very diverse. So yeah, I think that we can't say that this is like the top 10 technologies that someone should know. I think that is it's in a kind of like expanding list of skills.
And if you could just join me in thanking Anna Maria one more time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah.